Welcome to the Dear Doc podcast, where we will discuss the business of running a dental practice with a panel of experts. Now, your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpower.
Hey guys, this is Doc Hoffpower coming to you from my studio here in Alvin, Texas once again. Today I am joined by Dr. Ryan Morrison, and he is going to talk to us a little bit about, where he came from, who he is, where his practice is, his journey there, and also onboarding CareStack. And as soon as we're done with all that, he's got a piece of software he's working on right now that you guys may be interested in. But first, for those of you in the live studio, we're not going to leave. But for those of you at home, we have a word from our sponsor.
Do you feel like you are wasting your time and money marketing your dental practice? The fact is, most marketing companies are not focused on your best interests. They focus on their profit. At Art of Dental Marketing, our engagements are month to month, allowing you a low risk and foundational level to build trust as we build real solutions. Right now, TBOD members can enjoy exclusive discounted pricing on our ultra-fast websites and local SEO services. Visit us online at artofdentalmarketing.com or call us at 913-214-8502.
So folks, getting back into it, we are here with Dr. Ryan Morrison. And Ryan, you're a 2010 graduate of Boston, if I'm not mistaken. You actually graduated 2 years before I did. And you've got a wife and 2 kids. Talk to us a little bit about who you are as a person, and then we'll get into your practice, when you started your practice, where it is, and, what made you decide to go with CareStack. But let's talk a little bit about you first. I'm always interested in the personal story of the dentist.
Yeah, absolutely. Born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska. Went to dental school locally here, and then when I was graduating dental school, I really needed an extra year, so I did an AGD, up at Marquette in Wisconsin. That was really big. It's from a confidence level of just learning, of getting different experience to different procedures, learning what I liked, and that really helped me a lot. Then I realized I wanted to move back home. And so after my AGD, I did move back to Omaha, needed a job, and joined a pretty large DSO, which was great. I learned so much. And then about a year or so there, joined kind of a smaller DSO. And then for several years after that, I was about 4 years out-ish. And then I feel like you kind of wake up one day and you want to be, it's a very binary experience, in my opinion, of right. I'm ready to be an owner. I feel like I'm ready. I got to do it. And that's what I did. And I networked for a while, found a husband and wife dentist who were both retiring. And so I bought that, transitioned that. That was 4 years ago. And so I've been out about 8 years, and it's been great because my first assistant at my first DSO job is now my office manager. And so she's kind of followed me everywhere. Yeah, that's been a really, really cool experience. And it's been nice to be on both sides for a while, because you learn what you want out of a culture when you are the associate.
Very true.
And I used to think you have to do all procedures. I got to do everything. And I really, a couple of years ago when I took over the practice, I realized, okay, what do I want to do? And love using new technology, Tone Beam. That's what I really wanted to do, but I really wanted to try to build a culture of autonomy.
Right.
Because that's what I wanted when I was an associate. I didn't want someone watching over my back or, hey, are you doing this, doing that? And that's what I wanted to provide to all of my staff members. And that's been, it's been some hard lessons along the way. It's, for example, it's if you support them, they're going to support you.
And I think it's fair to say that not every team member, even in the most amazing culture, it's an amazing culture for you. it's not necessarily an amazing culture for every team member. Some team members don't want autonomy. They want a
Right.
JV, and they want to go in and someone tells them to do XYZ, and they do XYZ and they go home and they never think about it again. And I'll be very honest with you, some of those can be great team members as
100%.
long as they've got a really great work ethic that goes along with that. One of my longest term employees was actually a girl who hit me up for a job before dental school because I had met her randomly, right? And she was like, I'm going to come and work for you one day because I like the way you think. And she was kind of a JOB kind of a person. But when she entered my practice, slowly, and it was really gratifying to see that she became an owner in my practice because she owned the ideas of the culture that we created. I think what you're saying right there is super important. And I think we give a lot of lip service to creating a culture, but
Right.
we don't realize, I think a lot of times exactly what that means. So talk to me a little bit more in depth about how you created this culture, what the culture means, and kind of its, man, I hate to say mission statement because it's
Yeah.
really not right, but you know what I'm talking
I
about.
do, exactly. And I feel like culture, a great way to, I learned what culture I wanted through the tough experiences. For example, we've all had that friend of a friend of a friend who got my number, who has a toothache and really calls
On
my cell
Sunday
phone.
night.
Yeah, exactly. And really needs to get in. And there was one specific experience a couple of years ago. I mean, actually pretty recently than that, where I put him in myself in the schedule, of course, like no account details, no insurance. I just like threw him in, and he
Your front desk loves it when you do that.
don't you love that? I totally. And then they text me, oh, I'm going to be like 30 minutes late, right? Just classic situation. And
Absolutely.
and we have an office policy where 15 minutes late, unless we have an opening after, like we're not seeing. Yeah,
Gone.
it's just, and I did not stick to that office policy. And that to me was a very important lesson of the culture that I'm not contributing to the culture I want. And
Right.
and that's I feel like that's a good example because it you learn in those moments, and I can just tell.
But you have to be introspective, and that's an important thing. Just in talking to you for the last 10 minutes or so, you are a very introspective person. You look at what you're doing to contribute to the culture or to destroy it. That's super important.
Thank you. And what's so funny is it took me so long to learn this, and it's almost, and I know reviews are important, incredibly important, but I felt like I got to a point where I wasn't scared of the 1-star review,
Right.
which is, I feel like, a really good place to be just confident in because at the end of the day, if what sometimes may happen is that you may try to get pitted against your staff members in a tough situation.
Right.
And the staff are your best 5-star reviews.
Absolutely.
And not being afraid of that tough. Yeah. So that's been a really important, and it's hard to do. And I still struggle with it. But that's what
I'll never forget. And her name was Brittany. I had good God, I've had like 5 Brittany's who worked for me. I just realized that. So I had this lady, her name was Brittany. She was an assistant, and she was a great assistant, but she had an attitude. And it's one of those things where there is always someone who is on the short list. Mm-hmm. And sometimes as you build a team, it's bad because if you have the right team members, they grow with the practice and they grow in the practice's culture. They kind of stew in that culture and become better, right?
Right.
And so they never get on the short list because they keep improving, they keep growing with practice. But there's some people who, when you hire them, they are the best you've got. They're your star. And slowly over time, because they don't grow with the practice, because they are there as a JOB, right? They begin to drift toward the short list. And it's really an emotional thing because they've been with you for a while and you're like,
right.
Okay, you're just no longer a fit. And so I will never forget. It's one of the proudest moments I ever had. And I joke about this. I like to fire people because by the time it's gotten to there, I've already given them a number.
Yeah,
of
usually. Yeah, totally.
And I've given them, I've given them plans for improvement and everything else. And they're not staying on the plan.
Yeah.
So it's time. And so in this instance, though, I did not look forward to this because this girl had been with me for 5 years.
Oh, it's tough.
And I finished talking with her and I said, and so you've been here a while. You kind of know what this means. You know the direction we're going. Do you have anything else to say? And she starts crying. I'm like, oh my God, no, not tears. And she says, no, Dr. Huffpower, you're right. And I failed you. I'm so sorry. Will you still treat my family?
Wow.
Like it was like the best and the worst day of my practice.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I'm saying? Like I
Just
a little bit. I don't know if you can
it's
tell.
like a 180. Yeah, dude, that's so.
It was. That was such a redeeming.
Oh yeah.
Event, because it told me that day I figured out what I was doing was right.
Yeah, and that is like the best and coolest compliment that I didn't realize that I would like in dental school. You don't but like having treating staff members' family and having them like that's when it happens. But in a situation like that,
right.
I haven't had that, but that's a whirlwind of emotions there.
Oh, no doubt. So talk to me a little bit. You've built this practice. You have built kind of a high-tech practice. You figured out what you like to do. And guys, that's so important. Stop doing shit you don't like. Like endo was my first thing. And I realized how much happier I was going into work. And when you're happier, you work faster and you work more efficiently. And so does your team. You feed off of each other, right? Yeah. And so you don't want to be the albatross dragging the team down. Stop doing shit you don't enjoy.
Exactly. I have my endodontist friend do the build up for me.
There you go. Hey, sorry under rubber dam. Go ahead, buddy.
That's been wonderful. Honestly, it's just coming back.
Exactly.
That's helped a lot.
A lot of dentists will get upset by that. Right. And if you don't have an agreement to do that, I understand.
Because it feels
like the other guy's taking bread off the table.
Totally agree.
But how
he called me a couple times before, and he's like, "It says on the referral. I just want to make sure that it's like kind of funny."
Well, and there's great arguments to be made there, because I don't make my money by doing the buildup. It is literally, I walk into the room, the patient has already been scanned. I go and I erase the area around the tooth, zip, finish up my little crown prep. And guys, if you're not doing a crown prep, a good crown prep in under 5 minutes on a tooth that's doesn't have to get numb and already has a buildup on it, and whether you're just not working. So when you do your little 5-minute prep, and I was fee for service, and so I made $2,200 by doing that little prep. Wow. And I'd walk off to the next room. You know what I'm saying? It was so much less efficient for me to have to get out everything, get isolation done, yada, 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 and then finally get to the thing that makes the money at the end.
Totally.
You're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies if you're not letting your.
And the patient's so happy. It's like, guess what? No shot today. They're like, what?
Absolutely.
Like, it's just it's so nice.
And what you mentioned there is a big part of what I teach whenever I teach case acceptance. Everyone's read about the frog experiment, right? Well, you put the frog in the water and you slowly heat the water. Well, they've done human experiments with that too. And what they found is that the last sensation that you felt is the one that is most remembered, second by the first sensation you felt. And so if there's pain in there, it has to be in the middle to be forgotten as much as possible, right? But if you don't have to do an injection, then all they have is pleasant stuff to compare to. And you just make sure you have something really nice and pleasant at the end. And the patient always leaves happy every single time. Yes. And if they're happy, they agree to doing things like scheduling that next crown.
Exactly.
And it's such a little thing, but it goes such a long way toward your productivity in your practice. I mean, between just making people happy and having efficient systems that are followed 100% of the time, you can't go wrong if you do that. At least in my opinion.
Couldn't agree more. And and that's where when having a really tech progressive practice, which I think most of us try to do anyways, and I really wanted to focus on retail-esque experience, because at the end of the day,
retail too, not like Walmart.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, customers, exactly. And so I really wanted to, I want to be in the cloud, and I wanted to find, that experience where kind of check the boxes for me of, the autonomy. Like if a hygienist is talking to a patient about a product to go buy, but text right there from the chart, like I think that's a great experience because some of the, like in the server based ones, there's just all these third add-ons, and
So
Usually
guys, I have to put in here real quick.
Yeah.
We were talking before we went on the air, and so I know what he's talking about. You guys don't at this point. So Ryan has recently actually converted over to CareStack. How long have you been with them now?
I actually did it about 2 months ago.
2 months ago.
It's been pretty recent. I was on another class offer, really great, but I'm bringing partners on, and they're very, very familiar with CareStack, and it just worked. It's really worked well for us. It's very customizable. There's it there's always learning curve with anything, and the staff doesn't want to change.
Right.
But what we've been incredibly pleasantly surprised with is, I'll have a hygienist kind of be like, "Hey, why can this do that?" And then I
Mhm.
find out, oh, it's a setting. Like it's truly because
Right.
everyone does it differently. Like every office has its own little workflows and what they like, and I've been kind of blown away to like truly how many settings on the back end to. I think they call it care stack for a reason of how you could
Right.
truly stack what you want to do. So that's been really cool.
I always liked the whenever I talked to them about this, because I am with MB2, I was going to convert over, but MB2 uses Jarvis, and Jarvis at the time
Right.
did not read from CareStack, and so I couldn't.
Right.
So what I did instead is I actually took like a month course, CareStack University. I went through all of the courses that they
That's
use.
amazing. Yeah.
And it's getting better all the time.
Mhm.
But what really floored me, and this is something that I'd been bitching about with Dentrix and with Open Dental was way better, but the number of clicks you had to do to get somewhere. Like
Yes.
Dentrix, every different panel has a different route to get to certain reports.
Right.
And that was really frustrating. Open Dental was way better, much more efficient, but CareStack really takes it to that nth degree. Like it's super efficient. It's the same thing everywhere. Every screen you're in, same settings, same button, same number of clicks. And their number of clicks is so small compared to other
To get
people.
to clinical imaging, the fact that you can get to clinical imaging from the appointment window with
Yeah.
one click is pretty good. Like
It's crazy. And you know, it seems like I'm making a big deal because you've used it. You know what I'm talking about.
right, exactly. Yeah.
It seems like I'm making such a big deal out of something that's so small, but you don't realize the amount of time that you sit idle between clicks and between windows until it starts to stack
Yeah.
up. And when you go through something that would normally take you 10 minutes in Dentrix and you're on Open Dental and it takes you 2, and you're like, holy crap, where's this been all my life? I just got 8 minutes back of my freaking life.
Right, exactly. And my dental school roommate, he's up in St. Paul, Minnesota with his brother. He said something funny to me a couple months ago. He's like, the difference between easy to get to and impossible to get to in the dental chair is not much. And I was laughing so hard. I was like, yeah, that is so true.
There's so much going on already. If it's not almost a subconscious action, you have to turn away from the patient. The way I had my chair set up, everything was rear delivery. And so as I was turning to face the patient, I'm always looking at the patient. I'm looking at the monitor behind them. And so I can see we had a messenger system.
Well, that's huge. Yeah, we have one too.
So
we don't do the headsets like that.
No. I hate the headsets. They're so impersonal.
It blows me away that it's still like a popular
again, kind of Walmart-esque. They have self-checkout at Walmart. Now they've got self-cleanup. If you go ahead and clean up the aisle you're on, an employee will be in 5 minutes to check your work.
Exactly.
It's going downhill in customer service.
Yes. Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah. It's and so that's where we wanted to. And like just to be on I've had a server in a while, but it would honestly go down a lot. And one thing I did realize going to the cloud, especially on CareStack, is we talk about autonomy. Really good employees want to do their job really well, and they want to help your practice grow because they kind of bring in that ownership a little bit. The amount of, and I don't make it a requirement, but so many of my staff members will log in at home, maybe Sunday night, to do like their own little mini huddle themselves. And that's
all they need right there.
That's it. And you have to, and the expectations of the staff now of what they should be able to do for their job, we have to consider that. Well, it's like I can do everything on my phone right now.
Too. So it's not only that they see that these possibilities exist and that they can do different things to make their job easier and more rewarding, more satisfying, but the fact that it takes so little to get done. I mean, you're texting patients, your communication between the staff and the patients and you It's so seamless. It's so easy.
Yeah. And I just had an experience like a week and a half ago on Carestack where I show up Monday morning. We have direct booking for scheduling, and it's a very accurate online scheduling, which is important. And I had toothache Monday, 8 a.m. of course, but he was able to fill out all paperwork ahead of time on the portal, and it turned into extraction of bone graft, cash pay 8 a.m. And I was like,
love it.
That was cool. Like that was it. And so that's where, having that workflow in place, like to customize it, because you can not have direct booking on the scheduler. That's where you can decide, what you want, which is cool.
One of the things that I really loved whenever I was going through all the classes, and this one blew my mind and made me kind of question why no one else has done it, is you open up your schedule and blah, 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 Mr. Smith, Mr. Jones, red exclamation point. Oh shit, there's an insurance issue.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
That insurance issue the moment you look at the damn schedule, because it pulls information in.
Yes.
And so, Mr. Jones, I just wanted to remind you, I know we discussed it last time whenever we scheduled this, but this crown is going to be out of coverage for you. So you'll be out of pocket. We just wanted to make sure that you were ready to pay with credit card.
Mm-hmm.
I can go ahead and take that over the internet right now, and didn't they just implement a payment system, text to pay?
They did. And
that's amazing.
It's pretty like we enter in payments right into the ledger, which that's been like watching my front desk do that. I'm like, wow,
that's so huge though.
It's just like, it goes right. It's been pretty cool. And one unique thing that we just discovered recently was that claim view on the scheduler.
Tell me about that, because that's one I'm not familiar with.
So there's different views on the schedule that will highlight different problems. So you obviously have the HIPAA view, and then there's several others, but there's claim view that will highlight all patients that have insurance that claims haven't been sent yet.
Oh, nice.
So it's just a nice way to just double check. Hey, were all claims sent today?
And that's fantastic. Can you set that by session and by user? So let's say you've got your treatment plan coordinator, that's her view, right?
That's it.
Whereas your treatment acceptance room or your consult room, you're going to want to have your HIPAA view on,
Yeah.
So that's
exactly right. And that's where there's different profiles. It's very unique to set up where there's super admin, there's clinical, there's front, where you actually decide what they want to see. So
the funny thing is that is built into every PMS, but it's so hard to get to and it's so hard to use that most of us don't even know about it. And I went into a practice once and they were using Open Dental, which I thought was amazing. And they're telling me, hey, look, I think someone's stealing from me. Hi, folks. This is Doc Huffpower, founder of the Business of Dentistry and host of the Dear Doc podcast. Before we go any further, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about one of our fine sponsors, DentaMax. Now, I've been able to land a phenomenal deal for all of our TBOD members and our listeners on the DentaMax Dream Sensor. Before I jump into the offer, if you didn't already know, DentaMax offers high-quality dental sensors. They sent me one of their Dream Sensors to try out in my office, and my staff just raved about it. If you're picky about image quality, DentaMax has you covered. When you get your sensor in, a technician will help you by setting it up so that you get clear, concise images all of the time. In fact, they can even set it to mimic a sensor that you had before that you like the image on. All you have to do is share which one it was. It has a tough, durable housing, and it's backed by a 3-year manufacturer warranty, which is one of the longest warranties in the industry. I also like the thin design. With the beveled corners, it makes it easy to place in the patient's mouth, and it's pretty comfortable. Now, I know a lot of you may be worried, will this work with my imaging software? You don't have to worry there. DentaMax has you covered there as well. DentaMax Dream Sensor works with virtually all software. In fact, it's usually plug and play, and you never even have to use a Twain driver. I'm excited to share this special with you because David Ornett, DentaMax's CEO, was willing to give us a really great deal. All of our members can try the DentaMax Dream Sensor for free. That's right. They'll ship it out to you and let you use it for 2 weeks. In fact, they'll even have their technician dial it in on your systems to make sure it looks as good as possible. Now, all you have to do to get this offer is go to dynamax.com/TBOD. But guys, that's not it. Dynamax is going to give you $3,000 off of their retail price, plus a $200 discount above and beyond that, just for being a member of this community. So you can get a size 1 sensor for just $27.99 and a size 2 sensor for $37.99. It's a really great deal on a really great sensor, but you don't have much time to wait because this deal ends on July 4th. So go ahead and go to dynamax.com/TBOD, check out the deal, and celebrate your freedom from high prices. Thanks again, folks. This is Doc Huffpower. Let's get back to the show. And I was like, well, how are they doing that? I mean, what do you mean? Well, they're changing their hours. Well, they can't change their hours if you set them up correctly.
Exactly.
Every single person up as a super user.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
like,
right.
What?
Right.
So if you know this stuff exists, you know how bad that is.
Yeah.
I mean, they could erase claims, they could embezzle from you, all sorts of things that, and the average user doesn't know those things exist because they just want to sit down in the chair and do the damn work. But whenever you have something like CareStack where they make it easy and they've got this training that you go through, because they won't install unless you do the training.
Yeah, so we were really in a rush to do it, and they really were. I know they were like, hold up, like there's a checklist, like there's like a weekly onboarding meeting going over the settings, like they have a system now, and honestly, like there's great things about every system. Like sometimes I wish like all of them could just like somehow like work interchange, like that would just be amazing, but it's just about finding what works for your workflow. Right. And there's probably plenty of offices that work great still on a server base, or like open dental has a lot of great usability too. I've heard from my dental school roommate uses that up there, but it's really finding what works for you and your staff, and it was that balance.
CareStack made it easy, and that's the thing. They made it stupid easy.
Right.
And there's a lot to be said for that, because the learning curve on most of these things, have you ever seen oh gosh, what is it called? The Dunning-Kruger curve.
Yes.
Okay, so most of us remain on the top of Mount Stupid, and we never learn enough to really use the software. And there's that whole journey in between where you're in the valley of despair. Oh shit, there's so much. Once you start unpeeling this onion, there's so many layers, there's so many things to learn, and you just want to go right back up to the Mount Stupid because you don't want to have to make that journey. And so that's where a lot of us stay. Yeah. I think.
And the more clicks, the more, the more you're just going to stay.
The more onerous it is. Yeah. And you just don't want to after a certain point. You're okay with your ignorance. Yeah. And I think CareStack makes it to where you can really utilize all of their features very easily. They've built a bridge over Valley of Despair,
And the thing with server-based ones, there's been so many years of innovation available to happen, and like Jarvis
just doesn't.
Yeah, like in Jarvis. What's cool with CareStack is I do believe they do, like we integrate with TigerView X-ray. That's how we do X-rays, and so I think eventually there are some really good products that build off of the server-based systems, like really good. And I think I'm sure they'll all eventually, go to the cloud. And so as much as CareStack has an all-in-one, there's still that opportunity to use like the AI X-rays, like that. How I think that's going to be the next, like with companies like Overjet, incredible. Right. And that's something that I am excited. Hopefully, we'll bring in soon in my practice.
I see us as we progress toward cloud, and it's really funny because whenever I started my practice in 2012 and I mentioned cloud, the Dentrix people are like, cloud, bunch of crap. Right. Who's making a cloud PMS now?
Yeah.
It's funny because the way that these things are built, and I know you're a software guy, and we've kind of talked a little bit about some stuff you're doing in the background now. And I am really heavily into AI and software development and things like that in my own side. And you and I will talk more about that after we get off. I see us being able to utilize AI. Like I'm trying to develop something right now. I call it the dental data sphere, right?
Cool.
No spoilers here, folks, but imagine every piece of information that you have in your practice gets wrapped around a patient. All right. So you have your patient identification, which is basically your social security number, your name, your file number.
Right.
And around that, you wrap intraoral photos, intraoral scanner, CBCT, two-dimensional x-rays, and you can peel those things back like an onion. Then you use a histogram and you use Hounsfield units and you interlace those and you develop algorithms so they talk to each other. So you can use predictive algorithms to say, hey, tooth number 3 appears to have decay from the photo, from the two-dimensional x-ray, and the CBCT, generally because of the fact that it's 50% more demineralized than it appears on an x-ray. This is the predictive model that says this is how much tooth material you have to remove. And then it says, okay, that means that according to this is a crown. Or, hey, horizontal bone loss has been calculated from the CBCT and the probing depths and the two-dimensional x-ray, and it is generalized. And so that means that this patient has generalized chronic periodontitis. And that means that the appropriate treatment according to the AAP is this. And so you walk in the room, and if you have a cloud software, this is way easier.
Yeah, the only way you can do it.
Yeah, so you walk into the room and say, let's say we call our diagnostic unit Sally. Hey, Sally, talk to me a little bit about our patient today. Dr. Huffpower, the patient appears to have generalized chronic periodontitis. There are deep probing depths at these sites, pop, 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 pop. Bleeding on probing at these sites, pop, 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 pop. According to the American Association of Periodontists, this is consistent with the diagnosis of generalized chronic periodontitis.
Right.
Recommended treatment is 4 quadrants of scaling and root planing with medication. Do you agree with this assessment? Yeah, that looks about right to me from the x-rays. Diagnosis has been entered into the ID10.
Exactly.
Would you like me to enter the treatment? Yes, go ahead and enter the treatment. Yeah. So what Sally's talking about.
And the blame is off you in a way too.
Exactly. You automatically have a consult.
Right.
Right. And people trust technology. And so if they have this thing where they're hearing this data and they're hearing this is what is appropriate and this is what is right and this is what is following the rules, and then you turn to the patient and you say, okay, so what Sally's talking about there is you may have noticed sometimes when you're flossing, it bleeds, or when you're brushing, it bleeds. And then you can explain things. You don't have to sell them on the treatment. They already know what the treatment's going to be.
Exactly.
You're explaining how this wonderful piece of machinery got to the conclusion that that's what you should tell the patient. And to me, that's huge.
And I think, AR, VR, mixed reality is still very early.
Absolutely.
I do believe Apple will announce their headset this year. And I do think that's the next wave of patient education.
I could not agree more.
Interactive experience.
I actually just
which is what we're going to get to at TeamWorx. Like that's
we're going to talk about that. Yeah. I just purchased, since you're a tech guy, you'll probably like this, $350, and people are complaining about how expensive it is. They're 2D sunglasses. You can see through them, or you can put a cover on it so it's immersive. Plugs in with a USB-C. You don't have to worry about charging them. It runs off the USB-C and it doesn't draw a lot of power. I've been using it to have 3 workstations on my Mac.
Cool. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So I'm editing a video over here. I look at my news feed, and it's reactive. You can either have it move with your head or you can have it remain stationary. So if it remains stationary, you can just turn your head and you can look at the different monitors. And
it's future work. Yeah, it's future work.
And so, and 2D. I mean, it's nice enough that I can edit videos. I mean, what else do you want?
Yeah.
I think that the technology is within reach, and it's getting much, much less expensive too. So
it is. The cost coming down for sure. And if you work backwards from the patient experience, stress comes from a lack of control.
Right.
And if you can let the patient feel a little more in control, more education, and they're going to feel like they're on this journey too, and they have a say, and it's going to bring down stress, increase treatment acceptance. That is the basic foundation of what technology can do.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit. So overall, to end this first part of this segment.
Yeah, right.
You're really happy with CareStack. Let's talk about some of the hard points. You are just onboarding. You've been with them 2 to 3 months. There's got to be some rough edges. Talk to us about those. We like to really present a comprehensive. Hey, this is the good and this is the bad.
Totally.
Overall, happy, but I'd like to see this improve. So, is there anything?
I would say the knowing really, really, really dive deep into the settings. I would say that hindered the learning curve. It made the first, and this is probably only like the first week and a half, which is tough for any migration.
Okay, yeah.
But it's, that was hard because there were quite a few settings I didn't think to look into, and that caused the workflow in the back. Like for example, I didn't know that there was a setting for duplicating perio charts, stuff like that, and my hygienists were like, what the hell is going on? Like, I can't do, like, this is not, and so that's where I would say and that was like part of me going into more of the settings, but the harder part is, I don't know if this is fixable with any software, but migrating the balances for patients. That is like, that's been hard. Right. But I don't know if that's really like a CareStack thing.
Right directly to your bookkeeping software?
I don't
think it can.
I think we don't, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I think kind of like that text to pay thing. I hear about the features before they get out there, and I'm not sure which ones they've implemented yet. I think they're working on something to push out the QuickBooks and Xero.
That'd be cool. That'd be great. I guess I would comment.
Ask Dan Holland about that.
I will.
Not Dan Holland, but Dan
Hall. About that. Yeah, I will. But I think another thing that I wish was better, you can pick Soda Imaging or TigerView. We picked TigerView, and so it is a third party still, and CareStack still bundles the cost with all of it, which is easier. So it's one bill, but I think it's improving, but I do wish the X-ray software we could do more in the CareStack. You can click on the X-ray within the browser and see it, and you can manipulate it. You can't go to the next one when you're in the CareStack window, but we always have the TigerView open, which is TigerView still cloud. So they both, but I would say, and I think they're getting there, but I wish there was more experience in
more
that
seamless integration.
Which I think it's improving, but it hasn't. But once again, like, we still get the benefit of a very robust X-ray software in TigerView, still in the cloud. I just think more of that seamless will come.
Well, and that does bring up another point, is that you can run this stuff off of your cell phone. And I imagine that is where it becomes the biggest issue, is on mobile, because you can't really flip from image to image. Bring that up to them. From what I've seen with CareStack, when someone brings something like this up, they fix it.
Totally.
So I definitely bring that up, because that's a really great point, and it would actually make their mobile user experience a lot better.
Couldn't agree more, because we do iPads, and we don't do TVs, and so we have iPad Pros, and we use Chrome Remote Desktop now, which is very easy to share the screen. But yeah, that would really help the mobile experience, and that's I think that's a really important thing with a cloud software, is to be true cloud, you got to bring it up on an iPad. Right. Yeah, it can't just buy server farms and say we're cloud, and so that's where CareStack is legit. Cloud, we do it on iPad, and so I would agree, and that's what I am trying to ask. Hopefully they do that.
Now, one of the last things I always like to bring up, and this is one that was true for me. I think it's true for most dentists. And I actually did a poll in TBOD about a year or two back about what pieces of software you're using in addition to your PMS. And most dentists are paying between $2,500 and $5,000 a month on extra shit, and it's all built into CareStack. I mean. How many pieces of secondary software are you having to use because it's not built in?
There was an extra subscription for Vine, I believe, for claims, because that's who CareStack works with. So Fast Attach and Vine for insurance, but that's it.
So
report
What all were you
engagement.
using before? I mean, like I I don't want to say the names of any softwares I used that were really good. If they're really bad, I'll tell you. But,
Right.
you know,
I mean,
I
yeah,
was,
even when I used to use uh, Dentrix, it was you had Solution Reach, which
right.
was by very expensive. Great product, was very expensive, and then we had to use like a Dental Intel, I believe, for that. It's just and then you have your whole IT costs, after that, which uh, it's restarting the server several times. But there's there was quite a few of at least like 4 or 5 extra softwares that you have to buy
Yep.
to
Just
be
to
able to.
run correctly.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about what you're developing. So you found a problem. Now, there's a lot of software out there that is simply a solution in search of a problem. They generally don't work out well. You found a problem and you said, I can make a solution. Let's hear about it.
We One part of the patient experience that we really strive to do is the same message wherever the patient is. So, for example, let's say the patient has SRP. If the hygienist says SRP in the back and then the front desk says deep cleaning, the patient's like, what do I need? What is this? And and so I looked at other solutions out there, and I I want we realized that we wanted to create an incredible, almost futuristic graphic experience when it came to patient education videos, because a lot of them are older graphics, and we wanted something to match the type of practice that we are showing to patients. I'm not going to show like an 80s style video of what a crown is. And we the other problems that we solved out there were we wanted to make it customizable to add the logo to your videos, because we
Mhm.
always wanted to make it feel like it was our video, and
Branding.
we wanted to put data behind it. And so we built a software, we called it TeamWorx, because it all comes down to the team and the workflow. That's everything in dentistry, how the team can support the dentistry of their provider. And we built from the ground up a custom media player that was data driven, and we created our own. We have over 75 3D videos, procedure videos, that all have a data tracking behind there. So with an active subscription, you can put your own logo. You can add users to see which hygienist is playing which videos. And then we also have a lead gen feature. So we have a full arch video. It's 4 minutes. It took us so long to make. We were so proud of it. And you can put the patient's name or any information in there, send it to them, and then the office gets an email when it's opened. And
That's
so that there's
awesome.
so there
So, so
that's
to tell you how I feel about this, I used to go into, the iCat has a piece of software that comes with it's a viewer. And again, one of those little hidden settings people don't know about. You
right.
can actually go in and you can take the CBCT of the patient, you can plan out their implants, and you can put a prosthesis on top of the implants. You can export the entire thing with their face that transfers over into the skull,
Right.
and then it will fly you through the surgery, and you're all done. That you send that to the patient, and you say, "Hey, this is what's going to happen," and that would take me 35 to 45 minutes to do
Wow.
every single patient.
Yeah. So
So
you
this
are
is
yeah, it's and with we're very, very, very proud of like I said, we have over 75 videos. We have post-op instructions. We have a whole wide variety of, but the full arch, because I've done so many full arch consults. It at the end, it's a shameful thing for the patient to realize that they have to make a decision now on the 3 choices. Is it pull my teeth, removable, pull my teeth, graft, come back, maybe implants later, or that, and they obviously never say yes that day. We don't even want them to say yes that day, and they have to go home. This is with any procedure. Usually they'll go home to talk to a spouse or something, or maybe a banker if it's that large a treatment plan. But the message never is quite delivered accurately. Not to the patient's fault. They've just been overwhelmed by a ton of information, and that for us is what TeamWorx strives to do, is to get everybody on the team to understand what you need. And that is including the patient's family, because they are just as part of this as much as them. And that's our goal in the program. And that's what we do with the content, because we do not license content from other people. I write the script and I storyboard it and we put it into a 3D rendering. We make the whole thing, and it takes a while for each video, but we always, in the script, we are always ahead of what the patient's thinking of, why do I need this? Well, the next question that they're most likely going to ask. And that's what is so important with this content.
Have you experimented with Dolly for creating some of these?
No, we haven't.
That's the next step.
I will. Yeah. We should talk about that.
Well, if they were interested, if our audience is interested in finding out more about TeamWorx, how can they contact you?
You can go to teamworxdental.com, but it's with an X. So it's TEAMWORX dental.com. And we even offer a free account. So that's one thing that kind of annoys me as a dentist of, hey, like I don't have time for a demo. Like I need to know the price. Please tell me.
I like the freemium model. What I like to do
Yeah.
with a lot of the software I'm working on developing, what I always recommend to the companies is do a freemium model. And what that means is let them use it for free, but only let them use it 3 times a day, 4 times a day.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So then, they get to see it, they get to use it. And if it becomes part of their workflow, they're going to buy it. If they see the advantage of that, they're going to miss it for the rest of the day, not being able to use it.
Exactly. And so for us, you get 4 videos free. You get to see 10 seconds of all the other videos to see what you're getting.
It's a great model. I like that.
Thank you. And if you want to buy, there's 2 clicks. We integrate with Stripe, so it's very easy. And our retail is $149 a month per location. And when you get to upgrade, that's when you get to add your logo. And we also provide the embed codes for your marketing team.
Nice.
So you could put with your logo, you'll have any procedure you want to put on your website. You want a post-op section, take it. And that's really what we've tried to look at every touch point to provide.
Be really powerful. So what we always did is we got a clearance, a media clearance on every single patient. And so afterwards, if we had a patient I really liked, and we always took full mouth photos before and afters.
Yeah.
We always did a patient interview at the beginning, and we asked them their why. Basically, what I called it was their victory, because everyone wants to be the hero of their story.
Totally.
And I think that something we don't do well as dentists is when we tell a story, we tell the story with us being the hero. We're not the hero. We're Merlin. We might be the wizard who has all the knowledge. The hero's King Arthur. He has to pull that sword from the stone. And so you tell the story.
So good. Yeah.
Thank you. I tell you what, I will give you a copy of something I wrote a while back, and I'll let you have access to my videos for treatment planning and case acceptance. But I actually have them out there for free.
Awesome.
I want people to be able to be more successful,
right?
And communicate better, because if we can all communicate better, then people think better of us, and they think better of us as a profession.
Yeah. And the majority I believe the staff want to support their doctor. Like, absolutely. I want you to grow. And we all know that the real conversations happen when we're not in the room.
Absolutely.
And
I really need this.
Yeah. What do you mean you got to drill into my jawbone for an implant? What's a bone grab? Taking this from my hip? I mean, all the stuff you hear all the time. But we want to provide just a way to hit play. And what we want to do at TeamWorx is give that staff member confidence to do their job well.
I love it.
So that's what we're about.
So guys, www.teamworx.com. Go check it out. Get your free copy. Take a look at the 4 videos. Worst case scenario, you use the 4 videos forever and ever and ever. And very, very happy about it. Best case scenario, you decide you want to use this for everything in your practice, and it gives you a better way to communicate with your patients and your team. So, Ryan, is there anything that I should have asked you during this interview that I didn't?
No, we touched on a lot of things: life, work, tech. It's great.
I think that's the best way to do an interview, is to interview a person, not a product. But so, folks, thank you again for giving us an hour of your time and listening to the sound of my droning voice. Hopefully you got some good, useful information out here about CareStack, about TeamWorx. And worst case scenario, you got to meet another colleague. Thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us and giving us some of your time on a Friday afternoon. And you could be, fishing or hunting or laying on the couch drinking a beer, whatever, floats your boat. And we'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Dear Doc podcast, your source for the business and legal questions associated with your dental practice. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dear Doc podcast on all major platforms.